We're back here on WrestleRant. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and for the entire month of November, we're breaking down every installment in Survivor Series history that I did not review last year, hence why we're skipping ahead from 2000 to 2004 here today. My reviews of Survivor Series 01, 02, and 03 already up here on the channel from last year, so be sure to check those out before you listen to my review of Survivor Series 04, as seen in the WWE Network here today. So kicking off the show is a Fatal 4-Way Cruiserweight Championship match pitting the champion Spike Dudley against the challengers Billy Kidman, Chavo Guerrero, and Rey Mysterio. Pretty fun match. I mean, it was just funny to see a weird blend of all these Cruiserweight guys. You have Chavo Guerrero, who is a Cruiserweight guy, let's face it, but you also have Rey Mysterio in there, who went on to face Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania. Not in a world title match or anything. That wouldn't be until the following year when he won the world title WrestleMania 22. But it was just funny to see him involved in the Cruiserweight title equation. I thought he was far removed from that Cruiserweight division by late 04, but I guess not. It's still a good match for what it was. You know, it was kind of limited in terms of time. They got about 10 minutes, could have gone on longer than it did, but it was a nice opener, probably one of the better openers that I've seen at Survivor Series in quite some time. The 03 one was good too, and 02. I mean, of all time, that was one of the better openers. Maybe not in the recent years of these installments, because the 02 and 03 openers were pretty good. But this was a good match. Spike Dudley, in the end, still the Cruiserweight champion, picked up the win, stole the victory, and the Dudley boys were nowhere to be seen at ringside. This was during Spike Dudley's stint as the boss. But the Dudley boys were taking time off. They were injured in storyline by Big Show, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't resurface until like mid-05 when they made one more appearance of One Night Stand and left the company. So after that, for the Intercontinental Championship, Shelton Benjamin defending against Christian. And a good match. The crowd was kind of dead for it, so that was kind of disappointing. But the match itself was good. They got a lot of good time, 13 minutes. Worked very well together. Christian being a former 3-time Intercontinental Champion. A credible challenger. Benjamin had just won the belt from Jericho at Taboo Tuesday. So a nice first feud for the champion. Got a nice, successful title defense. Overcame the odds with Tyson Tomko at ringside. And an overall good match. Nice little undercard match for the Raw brand. So Shelton Benjamin's still the Intercontinental Champion. After that, our first 4-on-4 traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match, pitting Team Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero, Big Show, Rob Van Dam, and John Cena, against Team Angle, consisting of Kurt Angle, Luther Reigns, Mark Jindrak, and Carlito, with Jesus in his corner. John Cena was in the midst of his feud with Carlito at this time, so he chased down Jesus before the matchup and Carlito, so he got himself eliminated before he even entered the match. It was a very disappointing match. It says 12 minutes here on Wikipedia, but it felt like it was a lot shorter. It was not a total squash. Rob Van Dam got beat, but I believe by Kurt Angle. But in the end, though, it was Eddie Guerrero, John Cena, and Big Show going over. And kind of an underwhelming match. I was expecting more given who was involved. I mean, this was the year of the Eddie Guerrero-Kurt Angle feud, and they had a nice little combination here, nice little exchange in the ring. But other than that, though, they could have gone a lot longer. And I've just never been a big fan of Luther Reigns or Mark Jindrak. And the only other guy that could have brought something to this match other than Kurt Angle was Carlito, but he was taken out of the match before it even began because he just ran away. So that's kind of disappointing. But still, although the match itself, the match quality was kind of disappointing and underwhelming, the ending outcome was good. Eddie Guerrero got a big win here. Big Show maybe didn't need to win here, but he was in the midst of his feud with Kurt Angle, so I understand. And then John Cena got a big rub on his way to feuding with JBL for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania the following year. So nice big rub for John Cena, nice win for Eddie Guerrero and Big Show as well. So after that, up next in the card, we have The Undertaker taking on Heidenreich in a flash-in-the-pan feud. This was one of those feuds, they were just finding stuff. They were running out of opponents for Undertaker to face on SmackDown, so they built up Heidenreich at the last minute and just fed him to The Undertaker. They had matches at Royal Rumble. I think they furthered the feud at No Mercy and in Armageddon. They did another match at the Royal Rumble and on this show's Survivor Series. It's ridiculous. And Heidenreich was not a good worker. I mean, he was okay, but he was not in any shape or form to be feuding with The Undertaker. He was not that credible, and no one cared about him. The whole thing with Schnitzky, I guess, was supposed to be leading to a tag team match at WrestleMania, and thank God that didn't come to fruition. We got Orton and Taker instead in a great feud. But wasn't a terrible match, but it just one of those matches. It was like an Undertaker match straight out of the early 1990s when he was facing Kamala and Yokozuna and Kama and all these other King Kong Bundy, Bam Bam Bigelow, like these giants that they thought they could get good matches out of, but they just sucked. They were just really, really boring, and this was one of those matches. And the fact that Heidenreich wasn't credible at all and no one gave a shit about him didn't help matters either. I mean, they tried their best, especially Undertaker, but It was just not really that good at all. Undertaker won, thank God. So after that, for the Women's Championship, Trish Stratus defending against Lita. The match went only 1 minute before Lita got herself disqualified after attacking Trish with a steel chair. And this was after their whole feud, after Lita had been quote-unquote pregnant for all of 2004. And Trish Stratus caused the miscarriage after Kane fell on top of Lita, or whatever happened. And then Trish was mocking Lita about it for a few months, leading to the title match on this show. I mean, of course it was disappointing, I'm sure, for the pay-per-view audience, given the match was only a minute and they had so much history and the match was going to be so good. But at the same time, in retrospect, I understand why the match was more of an angle than it was a match, and Trish Stratus broke her nose. I'm pretty sure this led to her having that face mask for a little while. But in retrospect, the pay-per-view match alone, yeah, sure, was disappointing because, one of the biggest stages of the year, big world title, or big women's title match, they were going to build to it, and you get a minute match instead. That I can understand. They felt, it fell flat with most viewers. But in retrospect, though, you think about it, this would later lead to their main event on Monday Night Raw. Not the steel cage match, I'm pretty sure. It was just a standard women's match, standard singles match for the Women's Championship between Lita and Trish Stratus. Had that great Raw main event and also led to the two having a rematch at New Year's Revolution. Unfortunately, that would cut the feud short after Lita was legitimately hurt again for the next couple months. And she was out. Or no. Yeah, she was out. And then Trish Stratus got hurt in April, I think, of that year. But anyway, we would get the true match between these two in the main event of Raw a little while later. So it was okay. I kind of understand where they were going with here. I mean, for the pay-per-view audience, I get it. It was disappointing. But at least it led to something much, much bigger on Raw in the main event only a few short weeks later. So we get to our first of two main events on this show for the WWE Championship. JBL defending the gold against Booker T. It's amazing to think, I've been watching all these Survivor Series shows, and you think about Booker T's involvement at Survivor Series. It's amazing to think about. And 01, he was in the main event for, Team WWF versus Team Alliance. He was part of Team Alliance. 02, he was in the Elimination World Championship main event. Also, again, headlining the show. The last match in the card for 2 years in a row. Booker T was in as a part of the Chamber. In 03, what did he do in 03? Now, I feel like he was involved in the Survivor Series match or something like that. Now I want to check it out, but whatever he did in 03 was that. In 04, he faced JBL for the WWE Championship, and then I'm going to look it up right now. What did he do? I just watched 03, too. I forgot what he did, though. Booker T, was he a part of... He was a part of the Team Bischoff's Team Stone Cold match. Not the main event, but again, one of the main events. Then in 04, he faced JBL for the WWE Championship. Then in 05, forgot what he did in 05. Was he a part of Team SmackDown that year? No, what did he do in 05? Oh, he faced Benoit for the U.S. title, and he won. And then the following year, he was in the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. And then he was gone by 07. So Booker T, believe it or not, was a big part of Survivor Series for the years that he was with the company from 01 to 06. It's kind of funny to think about. 3 main event pay-per-view matches, and then a couple of other headlining ones, and the other ones that didn't headline were very, very good. But anyway, getting back to this match, I thought it was good. It was a good match. Nothing great. I just never really saw Booker T as a world title threat at this point. By the time King Booker came around, he was more on a roll than he was here, but they had already turned him a couple times, and he had gotten a shot a year and a half earlier, and when he faced Triple H for the world title at WrestleMania, and he failed to win it there, so a year and a half later, he really wasn't much of a threat to JBL. They just needed a filler opponent for JBL before, to kill time before WrestleMania when he lost the belt to John Cena. It wasn't a bad match. It was okay, but all the interference from Orlando Jordan and Josh Matthews, of all people, was really random. I forgot the context behind that. And then JBL in the end hitting Booker T with the belt to pick up the win. Still the WWE champion. Again, a good match. It just really felt like a SmackDown main event. Not a Survivor Series WWE title match. Booker T, in my mind, at this period in time, was not a legitimate top babyface for SmackDown. I feel like WWE really... 04 was, the year of JBL for the most part on SmackDown. In Eddie Guerrero for the first part of the year, but... After that, and Eddie Guerrero never really, until like a year later, wasn't until the main event scene. So it was odd to see that they really didn't have any standout baby faces, for SmackDown for the latter half of 2004. It was just JBL and a cycle of other guys, Undertaker, Booker T, Kurt Angle, Big Show. There was really not one top babyface on SmackDown for the latter half of 04, which was interesting. But again, good match. It was okay. Didn't really care for it too much. All the interference, I thought, bogged it down, but... JBL had to win, so the ending result was never really in doubt. So we get to the main event. Team Orton taking on Team Triple H, where the winners of any respective team would run Raw for the next 4 weeks if if Triple H's team won, Triple H would run Raw for a week, and then Edge would run Raw. That's a tongue twister. Run Raw for 1 week, and then so on and so forth. So the team's comprised of Orton's team was Team Orton. Team Orton was Randy Orton, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, and Maven. And Team Triple H was Triple H, Edge, Gene Snitsky, and Batista with Ric Flair in their corner. So a very good match, easily by far and away the best match in the entire card. I thought it was very well wrestled, kind of furthered the feud between Triple H and Randy Orton. Orton was put over huge here, and Maven was originally not a factor in this match. He got taken out by Gene Snitsky earlier on in the evening, and then he resurfaced towards the end only to get eliminated. And then in the end, it was Orton and Jericho versus Triple H and Edge. Jericho got eliminated, and then it was down to H and Edge versus Orton. Orton would beat them both. He would RKO Edge, and then he would, I think, RKO Triple H immediately thereafter. Kind of shades of, not really shades of because it happened afterwards, but something to what they did. They did something very similar 4 years later with Punk, Orton, and Kofi Kingston, coincidentally enough, that year in Survivor Series 09, I think it was. But yeah, very good match, I thought. Gene Snitsky's involvement was odd, and same thing with Maven, but at that time, they were bigger deals than they had ever been during their respective stints in WWE. But the rest of the match I thought was very, very good. Great story. The babyfaces conquer. Orton gets a rare win over Triple H after losing the world title and whatever else, and he's finally, back on top for a short period of time before losing back to Triple H at Royal Rumble. But still, a great main event. Team Orton wins, and for the second consecutive year, Randy Orton is the sole survivor. So that was Survivor Series 2004. On the whole, I thought 02 and 03, and even 01 to an extent, I thought were a lot better. This was a middle of the road show, not great, certainly not as bad as some of the mid-90s, late 80s, and late 90s, early 90s, late 90s. There have been far worse installments of Survivor Series. This was not one of them. I thought it was a good show, not too great, but not too easily not bad either. But anyway, like I said, the main event I thought was very, very good. Probably the best match in the entire show. So if there's any one match to watch, it's that one. Some other stinkers like the WWE title match and Heidenreich versus Undertaker, both snore fests for the most part. The other 4-on-4 elimination Survivor Series match for SmackDown was kind of disappointing. The undercard wasn't bad. The Cruiserweight title match was fun. The IC title match was very well wrestled. And the women's title match furthered an angle that would culminate a couple weeks later in the main event of Raw. So on the whole, middle of the road show. Check it out if you want. Not must-see television, not a must-see pay-per-view, but you won't be wasting your time if you check it out. And the theme for the show is good, too. I forgot what it was. I think it was by the Xyz or something like that, but heard it for the first time when watching the show, and I thought it was very catchy, so I'm going to be downloading it soon. But that is Survivor Series 2004. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my review. Always appreciate it, guys. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back on today's Thursday, so we'll be back on Saturday with my review of Survivor Series 2006, my 05 review I did last year. It's already up here on the channel from last November. Be sure to check that one out. But in the meantime, in between time, folks, be sure to follow me on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gstem.matthews. My website, nextdaywrestling.net, for full reviews of Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, NXT, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and everything else in between. So like I said, folks, we'll be back on Saturday with my full review of Survivor Series 2006. And until then, I'll catch you folks down the road.